Now, to keep having a successful position, there's no way out. I mean, you really have to strive and work hard in order to improve something which is already excellent. This is what our friends in Ducati Corsa do every single day. They keep controlling data, figures, metrics. They keep, checking over and over and over again. This is what we do in V4. We also moved, some engineers from Ducati Corsa to the product development, area, because we need new methodologies, new skills. So we have to cross-contaminate all of this. We have to work directly on product improvement, but also on development method. We got this Panigale V4. This is model year 2020. So, Panigale V4 2020, what is this? This is an incredible, light, improvement, but very significant one of the Panigale. Okay, so no total disruption. Maybe the only thing that really changed is the aerial body, basically the fairing, and in this case, you can see we have added wings. So this is a takedown from V4R, okay? And this is now available to everyone, so potential new customers, Panigale V4 SN standard. Once again, this is the R aero body. What's the advantage? Well, basically, it's a little wider, so there's a better aerodynamic protection for the rider. The cooling performance is better, both water and oil, and there's an aerodynamic, load on the front wheel. In this case, the downforce is 30 kilos at 270 kilometers an hour. This is really important. Just imagine you get, let's say, a box or a container, maybe a tank, something like 30 kilos or 30 liters of water or even gasoline, and you put it onto the front wheel. So it's a major quantity, 30 kilos. So what's the advantage of having 30 kilos downforce? Well, three advantages. First of all, bikes, become lighter and lighter when you increase speed, because, the so-called aerodynamic center of gravity is higher than the ground, right? So if you speed up, basically you have the so-called wheelie effect. This means less stability. So if you have an uneven ground or surface, or maybe because there's a change of the condition of the ground, you have instability. So if you have more weight or load in the front wheel, well, this makes the bike safer. Second advantage, well, you reduce wheelie effect. Now, this engine is overperforming, especially, in first, second, third speed, in some cases also the fourth speed, depending on the power of the engine. So if you have more weight on the front, so on the front wheel, this means you can really have so much power. Once again, wheeling is not a problem. The third advantage, there's a greater stability during braking, because, the load is sort of, distributed between the two wheels, so even braking performs better. You may think that this sounds a little theoretical, but believe me, this is great. So our aero body, from the 2019 and the 2020. So what's the difference? We did some testing because we like doing this. Look at this. If you have the two bikes together, getting out of the Jerez de la Frontera corner, it's a very special, corner. It's so sharp. So if you speed up at the maximum, this is the difference that you would see, on the ground. Once again, the new aerial body Panigale V4 2020, the difference is 2.5 meters. Well, if you are, betting on, one bike or another, 2.5 meters may make the difference, right? So once again, this is a tangible result. It's a very material result, as we say here. And then we have replaced many, many things that you cannot see. Once again, go to our website. In terms of frame, this is now with milled lightnings. I mean, you always have to find a compromise between, sensitivity and stability, if you will. And, this is also, let's say, improved by the wings. We have reduced, the side stiffness. This means that you have a better perception of what the front wheel is doing. For example, when I am leaning right in the middle of the corner. Or, for example, you really have the feeling of having the control of what's happening around you. Well, we also took into account plenty of feedback and opinions we get from customers, and especially from the press. Now, of course, we make bikes, and then, customers put us to the test, and reporters and journalists test them, and they, give us their feedback, which is very interesting. I mean, many journalists are specialists, in this industry, so we keep this judgment in high consideration. So we tested over and over again in order to, let's say, measure performances and improve performances. Well, in terms of absolute performances, this is okay. I mean, we don't need to improve them. A professional rider like Alessandro Valia with Panigale V4 model year 2019 does something extraordinary. But, if you consider, unexperienced riders or even amateurs, it was a little difficult, to repeat the same lap time, over and over again. And it was a little too tiring. So we said, let's take into account these 5 features. We want to reduce the riding effort. We want to improve repeatability and confidence. So to boil all of this down, we want to have an easier bike. Now, of course, engineers in Ducati like speed, so this is even faster. Once again, speed was not the objective. This is what has changed so that it's now easier, so to say. Well, basically, you have a new chassis setup, which is sort of different versus the previous one. Let me tell you where it is different. Now, the center of gravity is higher. And, this means you will see it later, but we really have re-engineered, the stiffness of these suspensions. The bike is balanced in a different way, and there's a different ratio between, the loads front and back. In the slide here behind me, you can see here the reduced spring stiffness, which is a fundamental point. Panigale V4 model year 2019 is extraordinary, but it requires, smooth, let's say, grounds. If it's uneven or bumpy, well, it was a little difficult, to ride. This means that the bike is really, really under control, even if you get into a small bump. So this means that, bikes move a little bit more, so this is why it is higher. So on the one side, we have increased the preload, so this is on my left. So once again, you have, the same, swing arm, but the load is different. On the rear part of the bike, there's a different situation. So we have a higher bike, and you have an increase of a special effect whose name is chain, tightening, if you will. And thanks to, pulling or tightening the chain, this means that we have improved once again the performance of the bike. Now, we did the same on the engine. So basically, we give information to the engine in terms of gasoline, throttle opening, and ignition. All of this depends on the requirements of the rider. Now, Just imagine the hand grip. If you don't move it in order to have a good maneuverability and a good control of the bike, if revs go up because maybe you get into a corner, you all know what happens now because the wheel, turns on a smallest radius. Of course, revs go up when you get inside a corner. But in this case, you cannot increase the throttle, okay? So you really have to control this. Anyway, there are some areas in the setup of of this bike in 2019 that we needed to change, okay? So, in a nutshell, we have improved the repeatability. We've also reduced the torque in the, let's say, low, small speeds. In this case, we have the wheelie control already performing. But if you do this on the engine, well, this means that the wheelie control is more efficient, quicker, and even more repeatable. So once again, as I said before, no traction control, no quick shift, and the traction control is the same I have mentioned before with Panigale V2. Well, in my opinion, this is the most interesting slide. You work for 6 months, then you sit down, you take some rest, then you say, so what did we get? So we made sort of a comparison, not just with Alessandro Valia and his engineers. I mean, we have asked, or we have involved the people, let's say, outside the company. Michele Pirro, the throttle specialist, as we say. Plus, we have invited, let's say, non-Ducati testers. So we have one, let's say, fast tester, and the second tester is very fast. Now, fast tester is, let's say, 2 seconds at the Mugello. Let's say very fast, 57, 58 seconds. So, I mean, they really know what accelerating or speeding up is. Michele Piero is a professional, biker. He's got the right, let's say, physical fit, and he can really get extreme performances. If you compare Michele Piero's lap time with this bike, this is the red bar that you can see on the right. So this is 1 minute, 39 seconds, 44. This is the Vallelunga results. Well, this is just 3 seconds more than the same time that he did in a Superbike Italian Championship race with an open muffler and all the features of a full Superbike. Okay, so just the difference was only 3 seconds. So, of course, there are different, tires, road tires, and then you have, some other features that, of course, we have to change to sell the bike. Anyway, the improvement of the lap time that you can see here, 4/10 for Michele from the, this is the difference between 2019 and 2020. So this means that this improvement can really be seen. The very fast tester improved 8/10, and the other one more than 1 second, exactly 1.3 seconds. Comments, posts are absolutely incredible because in this case we absolutely hit the target. Once again, I know it's faster, but this is not what we wanted. We want the repeatability that had to be improved, okay? And this is fantastic because if you are not professional riders, well, you do this because you want to have fun, right? So you have an object that allows you to have fun, to feel the thrill, and control exactly what we do. So this is what we wanted. Couple of figures for Panigale V4. All of this is unchanged. So we have the Desmosedici, this is the engine, 213 HP, 174 kilos dry weight. Prices, the 23,490 euros for the standard version with all the features we mentioned, and the V4S with Öhlins suspensions that can be adjusted electronically. The price would be 28,790 euros in Italy. S is almost available, so it will be available November 2019, so in 1 month, while the standard will be on the market in Italy starting January 2020. This picture is once again self-explanatory. You can see here the range. We have Panigale V2, we have the Panigale V4 2020, which is what you have here on the stage, and the Panigale R that will stay in the range. So once again, the Panigale has a wide, interesting range in terms of sports bikes, and well, proudly I think that this is, reconfirmed for 2020.